We're days, if not hours away from the most explosive phase of the crypto bull market so far. And everything is aligning right now, right under your nose. The final opportunity to be buying the best altcoins is here, and I'm going to talk about what they are on this video. I'm also going to break down all of the technical stuff and economic stuff and hopefully make it simple and interesting for you so that you can realize that we've got a year ahead of us of explosive gains towards the upside. So hit the like button and let's get into today's video. Now there's something that's happening right now and it's worth paying attention to because many people are kind of feeling a little bit panicked and shaken out after yet another day of downside action. But if you look into this post from Crypto Prof, you'll see that we have broken from the spring phase and we're now just going through the LPS phase of this particular reaccumulation schematic from Wyckoff. And this doesn't last for long and is likely to move into the jump across the creek very soon. But for those of you out there who are like, yeah mate, fair enough, but like how do you manage to maintain your bullish stance and why is this bull market even happening in the first place? Well, I've got a treat for you. I'm going to make something quite technical hopefully into something quite simple. And I'm going to be doing it by telling you to zoom the F out because it's very difficult to know exactly what's going to happen the exact next day for a particular crypto. But actually, if you zoom out, it becomes very straightforward and easy. And it's simply to know that Bitcoin and crypto in general are all linked to this, the money supply in the US and basically across the world. But what does a money supply really mean? Does that mean that, you know, someone's going to give me more money? Well, ultimately, yes. When governments have to go through periods of tightening and loosening in terms of the money supply to try and drive development and the economy's growth, because if the economy is not growing, effectively it's dying. So how does it do this? Well, they do it through periods of money printing, and then they try and control it by reducing the printing and the inflation by bringing in interest rate hikes. And that's not just true in the US, that's true everywhere. And right now we're seeing the world's second largest economy, China, People Bank of China, now injecting liquidity back into the markets. Why? Because the Chinese economy has started to slow down and they need to start driving development and growth again. So the first question I then asked was, why don't governments just keep liquidity flowing into the markets and keep development going? Well, to those of you who watched a video I made about Casper just a couple of days ago, I brought up this particular topic, the Dutch tulip bubble, which was back in the 1600s, which is the first market bubble of all time, where people across Holland started to buy tulip bulbs from flowers because everyone wanted them. This drove the price of the tulip bubble up until everyone was like, holy crap, I'm going to quit my job mending shoes. I'm going to go into the tulip business. Everyone starts to do the same thing. Market mania hits, and then you can see an absolute explosion. But this particular chart is extremely interesting because it's exactly the same as crypto and speculative assets. And you can see a boar trap, which I would assume is a bear trap. If you're Dutch, please let me know down below whether that is basically what they're saying, a bear trap. And you can see a dip into this zone before an explosive run-up phase. And that's where I think we're about to exit and enter into right now. But the reason effectively we go through tightening periods and loosening periods is to try and stop this happening in the main markets. I'm talking in the stock markets of the world. Why? Because if you let it go too loose and everything starts to explode, not only does the inflation go crazy, but people get too deluded and they start to invest in riskier and riskier assets. And eventually when the market collapses, which it always does, whether it's this coin or that coin, then people get absolutely destroyed. And crypto basically is the same as this, but the broader economy doesn't really run in quite the same way. And here's an example of this literally happening as we speak. You can see here basically QQQ and IWM. IWM basically represents the Russell market, okay, which is the smaller companies in the US and ultimately more speculative assets. We're not talking the Teslas of this world or the Nvidias, right? We're talking about the riskier assets, which are this white line here. And you can see at the top, the blue line, which is the NASDAQ. NASDAQ is bigger companies and therefore less risky. The same in crypto, right? The bigger companies like Bitcoin and Ethereum and Solana are much less risky than like Cat with Spade coin with a market cap of like $3. But this chart is the key to it all because it tells us right now that the riskier assets have just flipped the less risky assets, okay? So the blue line is less risky assets, and then the white line indicates more risky assets. And why has this happened? Well, because people have more money. You might not feel like you do maybe right now, but things are getting better. People are having more money injected into their lives because their jobs are paying more money. Businesses are getting grants from governments, etc. And this liquidity will suddenly start to flow into people's pockets. These people will then think that they can take riskier bets because they're richer than they were like 5 minutes ago, and then they start to go to more speculative assets. This is shown again in the manufacturing data, which you can see bottomed out last August and is now starting to move into an up phase, which you can see will run through until sort of 2027. So ultimately, the global markets are in an uptrend, And the riskier assets, which is cryptocurrency, will start to become more popular as the liquidity cycle pushes on. More money in the economy makes people feel that they can take bigger risks, and now they're more willing to go and buy risky assets like crypto. That should hopefully make sense. These charts basically I got from Raoul, and this has come from watching hours and hours of his content. Really, really interesting. But I know you don't have hours for that, and possibly sometimes he makes things a bit more complex. Don't get me wrong, I don't pretend to be a genius. I just take information that he talks about, and then I go and ask ChatGPT to regurgitate this to me as if I'm 11 years old. I'm joking, of course. Obviously, I'll say as if I'm actually 15 years old. Okay, so that all makes sense, right? Bitcoin is bouncing around in the LPS, whatever that stands for, part of the Wyckoff reaccumulation, which means that probably very soon it's not going to go much lower than this, and it's going to bounce into this next zone, which sits around 70 to 71k. Everyone and his dog knows that if Bitcoin gets up to around the sort of 70 to 71k area, then we're off to the races. That means this next phase will push everyone into riskier and riskier assets, which means those altcoins that you've been bricking it about over the last few months because you're like, I bought into this gaming coin or I bought into this coin, have been like, oh, I don't know, are suddenly going to be all right again, and everyone's going to realize it, and everyone's going to flood their money back into the market, and then we go crazy once again. And you can literally see this in pretty much every altcoin. You've got Solana here, right? We had this descending triangle, you can see, where we're putting in these lower highs. Eventually it breaks out, and it does what any good chart pattern does. It breaks out, it comes back and retests that line. All of these, in confluence with what's happening on Bitcoin, pretty much lead us to understand that we are literally at the last point of no return. The bears are going to be telling you it's going to go lower and you have more chance to buy Solana at like $5. But in my opinion, it's never going to happen. We're about to bounce from here in the altcoins, and Bitcoin is making that very clear to us. We don't even need to wait for that switch in interest rates that's been promised by the Fed. That will be the cherry on the cake, okay? That's going to blow things up even bigger. That money supply is already going. It's been going up for like 11 months. And now we're getting to that point where the liquidity really starts to feel like it's entering everyone's lives. And that's going to drive the bull market like you've never seen before. And remember, all the news is going to come over as a smokescreen. It's going to be designed to get you to continue to ape into the market. What pieces of news right now are going to get us to continue to ape into this bull market? Well, both the presidential candidates are talking at the Bitcoin conference in Nashville. How can that not be something that's bullish right now? We got Elon Musk basically saying that the US can't really afford to pay its debts and will eventually go bankrupt, and crypto being a safe haven for people who want to preserve their capital. He owns Twitter, which he's trying to make a freedom of speech platform, and will continue to probably drive crypto growth over time. Do you remember the last bull market when Elon Musk said Tesla was buying Bitcoin and suddenly crypto exploded towards the upside? Well, now you've got another tech billionaire, the owner of Dell Computers, Michael Dell, saying that Bitcoin is fascinating and he basically is worth billions and billions of dollars, and he's got a net worth of $108 billion, and at some point potentially turn some of the Dell capital into Bitcoin, crypto, etc. in the same way that Michael Saylor does. And we're going to hear all the news articles about all this, but really underlying all of this is literally the liquidity cycle. These are just going to be catalysts to drive the next phase, and you don't want to be sat on the sidelines when one of these news articles drops. So where to focus your attention? Well, you don't need to go too far away from the coins that you've probably been researching and investing in over the last few months. Many people are always asking me are you still bullish on this coin or that coin? If I was bullish on it on the first place and you were bullish on it in the first place, why wouldn't you be bullish on it at a lower valuation? Because now it's got more potential for upside and less potential for downside. Coins that have been bouncing strongly while Bitcoin has been bouncing strongly. I'm talking in the last couple of weeks, like ICP here, which rallied after that recent bounce around 89%, suddenly seeing a little bit of a pullback today. I would anticipate having strong runs when Bitcoin pushes to 70k. Same story for AIOZ, which pushed all the way up around 50%, currently is now retracing to retest this breakout, 22%. Because look, you can see downtrend, breaks the downtrend, comes back to retest the downtrend, and then goes on its merry way. This is all showing up in all of the altcoins out there. And if you're really struggling, we'll just go across and look at the coins that were very popular back at the end of last year and into kind of March. This was like the speculation kind of early stage bubble. We weren't quite ready to run. And lots of these coins like Avalanche did really, really well in that period, which tells us that after this is all blown over, that Avalanche will likely do quite well going forward. But yeah, Avalanche has got a big market cap, so maybe Avalanche isn't the right coin for you. So go and find out decent coins on Avalanche that are starting to pick up and do well when Avalanche does well. For example, Pangolin, a DEX that had an incredible run when Avalanche was doing well back in late February into early March. This coin, again, is now finding itself in a zone that sees good strength going forward. Remember, this is very straightforward. Go and focus your attention towards the coins that you were already in and already bullish on, and look where they're all lining up, either in buy zones or they've been breaking out and retesting previous lines of resistance as support. So if I leave you with anything today, it's this. The narratives that you've been promised will explode at some point, I'm pretty confident are probably true, okay? We're talking the likes of AI coins, we're talking the likes of DPIN coins, we're talking the likes of BRC20, Bitcoin ecosystem coins, we're talking the likes of real world assets, we're talking the likes of games. Some of the games have been absolutely smashed. Those games that are good quality, that actually have working games that are out there, probably find themselves at better value than many others. And I will continue to talk about particular narratives as we go on. This is pretty much a broad brush video to try and keep you on track. Make sure you don't do anything silly. Make sure you don't panic too much about the coins that you're in that have seen good healthy pumps recently and then good healthy pullbacks recently, because it's really not that difficult. Right now, you literally need to do nothing apart from obviously hit the like button. And if you haven't already, subscribe to be kept up to date with all that is going on. Now, if you want to go and buy crypto, sell crypto, whatever you want to do, go across to Bitunix. It's linked down below in the description. Doesn't need a VPN, doesn't need a KYC, so you can trade all your cryptocurrency here under the radar. We continue to try and list all the coins that we talk about on this video as well, so if you want coins listed on this exchange, one without a KYC, then leave those coins down below in the description. Guys, please hit that like button. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.